The movie Oppenheimer isn't just a biopic, it's a psychological labyrinth. Christopher Nolan didn't make a film about the atomic bomb, he made a film about the mind of the man who built it. From the very first frame, the movie immerses you into J. Robert Oppenheimer's fractured consciousness, jumping between black and white objectivity and color-driven subjectivity. Each sequence pulls the audience into the storm of his thoughts, his guilt, and his genius. The story begins not with explosions or action, but with quiet moments of obsession. Oppenheimer is a scientist haunted by visions of energy, atoms, and stars collapsing. These visions aren't just artistic choices. They symbolize the merging of scientific discovery with destructive potential. Nolan uses color scenes to represent Oppenheimer's personal experiences, emotions, and memories, while the black and white sequences represent Strauss's perspective, cold, logical, and factual. This visual duality becomes one of the biggest myths people misunderstand. The black and white parts aren't flashbacks or alternate timelines. They're about perspective, not chronology. Another myth surrounds how the film handles time. Many viewers think Oppenheimer is nonlinear just for style, but Nolan uses this fractured timeline to mirror Oppenheimer's guilt. His memories collide with his fears. The past and present coexist because, in his mind, there is no separation between invention and consequence. The Trinity Test scene, the first detonation of a nuclear bomb, isn't the climax of the film, it's the beginning of his downfall. When the bomb finally explodes, the sound cuts out completely. This moment is not silence, it's moral shock. Nolan removes sound to remind us that true destruction is beyond comprehension. Many viewers thought it was a stylistic decision, but it's actually an emotional translation. The explosion's silence represents Oppenheimer's internal scream, the weight of realizing he unleashed something unstoppable. Another misconception is that Oppenheimer celebrates genius. In truth, Nolan's portrayal is almost tragic. The film strips away the myth of the hero scientist. Instead, we see a man who builds his own guilt. The myth of control, believing science can be separated from politics, is shattered. Every time Oppenheimer tries to justify his creation as a necessity for ending war, we see the cracks forming in his conscience. The film also dives deep into the myth of power. Many viewers focus on the military race between nations, but the real race is inside Oppenheimer's mind, a struggle between creation and conscience. His colleagues cheer as the bomb succeeds, but he stares into the flames, realizing he has changed humanity forever. The haunting line, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds," isn't just a quote, it's a confession. It's his acknowledgement that he can no longer separate knowledge from destruction. After the Trinity Test, Oppenheimer's story shifts from brilliance to burden. The explosion may have ended a war, but it ignited something far greater, his internal collapse. Christopher Nolan doesn't just tell a story of victory, he tells a story of moral erosion. Every moment after the bomb is filled with echoes of guilt. The applause, the celebrations, the flags waving, it all turns hollow. Oppenheimer looks around and sees faces distorted by firelight, his mind replaying the destruction in slow motion. It's a man haunted by success. One of the most misunderstood scenes comes when Oppenheimer gives his triumphant speech after the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. People around him cheer and stomp their feet, but Nolan deliberately warps the sound. The floorboards creak, faces blur, and the crowd's joy melts into horror. He sees skin peeling, light burning, and bodies vanishing. This isn't a memory, it's guilt bleeding into reality. Nolan uses sound design here as emotional storytelling. What we hear isn't real, but what he feels absolutely is. The movie then dives into the political arena, showing how science and power collide. The myth many people hold is that Oppenheimer was punished for creating the bomb. In reality, he was punished for regretting it. Once he questioned the government's motives, he became a threat, not for what he built, but for what he knew. His security hearings, shown in black and white, aren't just bureaucratic, they're symbolic interrogations of conscience. Nolan shot these sequences like a courtroom thriller, but at their core, they're a battle for truth. A subtle but powerful theme runs through the film, the myth of control. Oppenheimer believes that by creating the bomb, he can control its use. But Nolan repeatedly reminds us, control is an illusion. The moment humanity gains the power to destroy itself, no one is truly in charge. The bomb becomes a godlike force, indifferent to who built it or why. One of the most fascinating layers of the movie is its portrayal of perspective. The film constantly switches between subjective color and objective black and white, symbolizing how truth itself changes depending on who tells it. For Oppenheimer, the bomb is guilt. For the government, it's victory. For the world, it's power. Nolan forces the audience to sit in that discomfort. There are no heroes here, only consequences. Then comes another myth, that Oppenheimer's downfall was sudden. The truth is far slower and more psychological. Nolan shows us a man eaten alive by his own conscience. His relationships crumble, his public image is stripped away, and the people who once praised him turn their backs. Each scene becomes quieter, darker, and heavier, until we see him isolated, surrounded by silence, drowning in thought. The pacing mirrors his descent. The movie's dialogue holds deeper meanings that most viewers miss. When Oppenheimer says, "They won't fear it until they understand it. And they won't understand it until they've used it." It's more than a line about governments, it's a prophecy about human nature. Nolan uses it to expose our obsession with power and our blindness to consequences. As the hearings progress, we see the reversal of Oppenheimer's role, from scientist to scapegoat. He isn't the destroyer anymore, he's the destroyed. But Nolan doesn't frame this as punishment. It's enlightenment through pain. Oppenheimer becomes a symbol of guilt that the world refuses to carry, so it forces it all onto one man. The final act of Oppenheimer shifts from science and politics to something much deeper, philosophy. By this point, the bomb has already been built, tested, and unleashed. But the true explosion happens inside Oppenheimer's mind. His greatest creation has turned into his eternal nightmare. He realizes that his equation didn't just split atoms, it split humanity itself. One of the most powerful and misunderstood scenes in the entire movie is Oppenheimer's final conversation with Albert Einstein. The moment feels small, just two men standing near a pond, yet it holds the emotional weight of the entire film. Many people believe they're discussing Strauss or the political hearings, but that's only the surface. What they're truly talking about is the end of the world. In this scene, Oppenheimer reminds Einstein of an earlier fear, the possibility that the first atomic explosion could ignite the atmosphere and destroy the planet. When Einstein walks away silently, it isn't just because of Strauss's jealousy or rivalry, it's because he understands what Oppenheimer is saying. The chain reaction they once feared might not have ended in the desert. It might still be happening, not in the air, but in humanity's choices. The pond behind them reflects the sky, symbolizing that the line between heaven and earth has been shattered. It's Nolan's most haunting metaphor. Mankind has looked into the mirror of godlike power and cannot unsee its reflection. The myth of control is gone forever. Then comes the movie's final flash, a vision of rockets, warheads, and mushroom clouds spreading across the world. Oppenheimer's face is calm, almost resigned. It's not just guilt, it's realization. He knows that what started in the New Mexico desert didn't end there. The chain reaction of human ambition continues, unstoppable. This closing image is both prophecy and confession, Nolan's way of showing that Oppenheimer didn't just change science, he changed the human condition. Another hidden layer lies in Nolan's use of sound and silence in this final section. The entire film has been built on intense dialogue, ticking clocks, and overlapping voices, but at the end, everything stops. There's no music, no words, only quiet. This silence mirrors the silence after the bomb test, but now it's universal. It's the silence before the next explosion, metaphorical or literal. The myth of Oppenheimer as a tragic hero fades, replaced by something far more complex. A man who understood too much, too late. He becomes a mirror for the audience, asking us the same question he asks himself: what do we do with the knowledge that can destroy us? Nolan doesn't answer, because there is no answer. The film ends where it began, not with fire, but with thought. Christopher Nolan uses Oppenheimer to redefine what a biopic can be. It's not about who Oppenheimer was, but about what he represents: the eternal tension between genius and guilt, invention and morality, creation and destruction. Every myth we held about science being separate from ethics collapses by the end. The film doesn't celebrate brilliance, it warns us of its costs. The final moments, Oppenheimer's eyes reflecting fire, tell us everything we need to know. The destroyer of worlds isn't the bomb. It's the human mind.